Let's just dive right into this explainer, shall we? Today, we are unpacking what is honestly a massive paradox. I mean, think about it. How on earth does a book that kicks off with the creation of the literal universe end up hyper-focusing on the messy drama of just one single family? Well, we're going to explore the book of Genesis today, and we're looking at it not just as ancient theology, but as the ultimate foundational origin story of human civilization itself. It is a wild ride.
So here's the big question for you. When exactly does a family become a nation? That is a massive leap, right? How do you go from a few nomadic individuals wandering around to a sprawling, structured civilization with its own laws, culture, and borders? Well, the text we're digging into today provides this fascinating multi-generational blueprint for exactly how that incredible structural transformation actually happens.
Okay, let's start with Section 1, the birth of Israel.
Now, to really understand the beginning, we kind of have to know the destination. The broader Old Testament chronicles the history of the nation of Israel. But here's a really surprising fact for you. The nation of Israel doesn't actually emerge as a distinct political entity in Genesis at all. No way. Throughout this entire foundational book, they're really just a wandering, growing, and let's be honest, sometimes highly dysfunctional family. The actual state itself, that comes much, much later.
Specifically, that official formation happens later on in the book of Exodus. That's when God appears to the Israelites at Mount Sinai and the 12 tribes finally unite. But think about it for a second. To take 12 totally separate factions and fuse them into one cohesive state, they absolutely needed a shared history, a common ancestral memory to bind them together, you know? Genesis serves as that absolutely vital, unifying backstory for this nation stepping onto the world stage.
Moving right along to Section 2, humanity's earliest history.
So before we even get to that single chosen family, the narrative starts incredibly wide. As you'll see, chapters 1 through 11 are entirely universal. They tell this sweeping, epic creation story and the earliest history of literally all humankind. We're not localized to one specific group yet. This is the story of humanity as a whole, just trying to figure out survival in a brand new world.
And what's super fascinating is that this isn't just some abstract theology floating in a vacuum. These narratives are deeply, deeply rooted in ancient geopolitical reality. They contain these brief, brilliant little glimpses into the advancing, real-world civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Actually, as we read these chapters, we are getting a window into the historical development of some of the earliest empires known to human history.
That brings us to Section 3, the dawn of civilization.
This text here records a rapid, honestly almost aggressive progression of early human ambition. In the first epoch, we start with gritty resource conflicts over land, hunters clashing with shepherds, shepherds clashing with farmers. This perfectly mirrors the historical shift to agriculture. Then, in the second epoch, humanity takes a huge leap into technology and craftsmanship. That leads straight into the third epoch, which is the birth of the very first cities. And finally, the fourth epoch, where it all culminates in a massive, unified building project out in the plains of Shinar.
And that colossal project? That is the ziggurat. Described in chapter 11, this massive, tiered tower is basically the ultimate symbol of humanity's technical skill and their vaulting ambition. It's like a monument to early humans peaking in globalized technological power right there in Mesopotamia. It is absolutely the climax of the universal human story in this text.
But then, right at that peak of global ambition, the narrative executes one of the most dramatic cinematic shifts in all of ancient literature. I mean, it's incredible. We zoom all the way in, from the macrocosmos and sweeping Mesopotamian towers in chapters 1 through 11, directly down to the intimate, micro-level drama of a single-family tent in chapters 12 through 50. It's a total whiplash in scale, in the best way possible.
Which leads perfectly into Section 4, the chosen family.
Leaving that massive global stage behind, chapters 12 through 50 slow way, way down. They focus meticulously on God working within the chosen family of Abraham. Instead of centuries flying by in a single sentence like before, we get these incredibly detailed generation-by-generation accounts of Abraham, his kids, and his grandkids. We get to see their migrations, their unique covenants, and all their deeply personal and sometimes incredibly messy family dynamics.
So, the entire universal history of humanity is effectively funneled down to this one man. Abraham's lineage grew, step by step, throughout the rest of Genesis. This single specific family acted like an incubator. They were the seed that would eventually multiply, spread like wildfire, and ultimately burst onto the scene in the book of Exodus as the fully formed nation of Israel.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Legacy and Authorship.
Now, you might already know this, but traditionally the book of Genesis, seamlessly along with the subsequent books, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, have all been attributed entirely to Moses. And just think about the beautiful symmetry there for a second. The very figure who led those united 12 tribes at Mount Sinai is historically credited with recording their vast ancestral preamble. He's the one packaging their nomadic history and the literal creation of the world into one unified, epic origin story.
So, to wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. How does a single family's intimate narrative, set against the backdrop of humanity's earliest technological ambitions, ultimately birth an entire nation? Well, it happens when a micro-lineage is woven directly into the macro origins of humanity itself. The journey from the ambitious towers of Shinar to the foot of Mount Sinai is an absolute masterclass in how small, chosen beginnings echo across millennia to shape the history we understand today. Keep asking these big questions as you continue exploring the roots of human history. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer.